think about a curveball of the week, and I still haven't come up with one within. I was going to say we were going to skip this and do it next week, but since I haven't thought of a curveball of the week question yet, we're going to go, like I said, Grant, we're going to rank our top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Right now.
So, right now. And usually with these lists, you want to go from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but right now it's so clear-cut and definitive that we're going to go from 1 down to 5 here. And number 1 is apparently, since I'm such a Patrick Mahomes hater, I have him as the number 1 quarterback in the NFL, but I hate Patrick Mahomes. Oh, it's going to piss a lot of people off. But I mean, I would like to say I'm more of an underachiever, not an idiot. And I mean, Pat Mahomes, his record speaks for itself. And he is the clear-cut number 1. But after this is where it gets tricky. This is where the fun begins. This is where the fun begins. And after last year, number 2, I have Joe Burrow. Led the Bengals, a team that hadn't won a playoff game since the 90s, and he brings them his essentially his first full year as a starter, bringing them to the Super Bowl, brings them within a game of getting back there again the next year. I think he has 2. Goes into Buffalo and dominates the Bills. And I have Joe Burrow at 2. Number 3, I have Aaron Rodgers. As we said, the guy can still sling the ball, throws a beautiful spiral, just the greatest natural thrower of all time. Aaron Rodgers is 3. I think he still can sling that ball around. And 4, I don't have a 5. I have 4A and 4B.
Ooh, interesting.
I think Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence are both at 4A, 4B. I think Josh Allen has regressed. I think the lack of a running game is really holding him back. Without a true number 1 running back like that the Bills have, they refuse to run the ball. He is their only primary source of running the ball. And you can tell as the season has worn on the last few years, both divisional losses where they've lost out, you see some regression. And the way Josh Allen plays is he is 1 hit away from not playing the rest of the season or possibly further on down the road.
He's getting very dangerously close to Cam Newton, where his body's just slowly going to fall apart.
Yep. And then at 4B, I have Trevor Lawrence. He goes his rookie year. You can just cross off. He had Urban Meyer. That was an absolute disaster. That was terrible. But he's going to give us a good documentary here in a couple of weeks. So maybe we won't. I don't know if we'll forget. People can forgive him, but he's going to give us something good, something to talk about. So, and something that we grew up and watched. So, something people forget about his time in Jacksonville. But he is a tremendous leader. Guys rally around him. He finally has an adult, a grown-up, a guy that actually knows his way around the NFL, who was not a rookie head coach, if you will. I think him and Doug Peterson are going to be running the AFC South for the next 15 years. I think, and then he gets Calvin Ridley. The team took a gamble on him. I think that's going to pay off big time. And I would not be shocked if we see Trevor Lawrence by the end of the year, that we have Trevor Lawrence at 4 and Josh Allen at 5. And right now, if we had to rank the QBs from last year, I would probably go Pat Mahomes 1, Joe Burrow 2, Josh Allen 3, Trevor Lawrence 4, probably Justin Herbert. Aaron Rodgers didn't have a great year last year. There was a lot. But if we're talking just talent, Aaron Rodgers has to be in that conversation of a top 3 quarterback, and that's where I have him. But for me, I have 4B, Trevor Lawrence, 4A, Josh Allen, 3, Aaron Rodgers, 2, Joe Burrow, 1, Pat Mahomes.
You know what's interesting about your list, Dylan? That's all AFC quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But, that's where all the quarterbacks are. You can't argue with that. So Great minds think alike here at number one. I mean, it's Pat Mahomes. It's not even close. 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, Offensive Player of the Year. You despise him. What else can the guy do in his career? He's done it all. And his biggest accomplishment is getting the people of Kansas City to believe that you think he's arrogant and a bad teammate and a bad player. So it shows he's the best guy out there. Joe Burrow is the clear-cut number 2. What's interesting is if we didn't have in the fourth quarter of the AFC title game, if we didn't have a Brian Cook tip pass interception to Joshua Williams, a Chris Jones sack, a Sky Moore punt return, and Joseph Ossai getting a little too aggressive, we could have Joe Burrow at number 1 right now because he was trending there. Once the Bengals got everything figured out last year, their offensive line had some cohesion. They won, 9 games, 12 games, and 10 of their last 11 games. Joe has changed that franchise. He's changed that city. He's got that California cool, even though he's not from California. He looks kind of just like a psychopath out there where he knows he's going to rip your heart out, and he's so stone cold about it.
And he's going to smile doing it.
And he's going to smile while he's doing it, too. And
he's gonna have that shit-eating grin he has, too.
Exactly. And no white man.
And if he went to Ohio, if he finished his career at Ohio State, would absolutely hate the guy, but he was smart and left.
And got out. And you know what? Credit to Joe Burrow here for this. Not only has he changed the city of Cincinnati, he's changed that organization, which used to be a laughingstock organization. He's not afraid to go toe-to-toe with the best quarterbacks in this league, like you said. At Kansas City the last 2 years in the AFC title game. A divisional win in Buffalo, going up against the number 1 seed Titans 2 years ago. No white dude looks better smoking a cigar in this country than Joe Burrow. I don't know what it is, but man, Joe Burrow, I wish I looked half as good as he did smoking a cigar. But God gave me a nice personality, so that's not going to happen. And number 3, I'm on this guy a lot more than most people, but like you said earlier, he hasn't had the help around him. Josh Allen. To me, Josh, he's right up there with arm talent for Aaron in this country. Some of the passes he can make are just unbelievable. And
which was the knock against him? He coming in, it was inaccuracy. But to his credit, he worked at it and he got it, and he's made that one of his strengths.
And I think he needed to work on his footwork and slow things down a little bit and realize that just because I have this huge arm, I don't need to use it all the time. But what's hurting Josh Allen? The lack of a running game, and he doesn't have any help up front. And you know what? Sometimes he can care too much. I just, as earlier today, as I'm shitting on the Washington team for not caring, I'm giving Josh some flack for caring too much. But to your point, he's putting his body in just a bad spot, where he's going to end up shortening his career. But you know what? This is also where I give Joe Burrow credit. His offensive line hasn't been good these last couple of years. The Cincinnati running game is up and then down, up and down. But also, I think Buffalo, they don't have a pure number 2. They have Stephon Diggs and then Gabe Davis, who we can't really trust all the time. But Josh Allen, he's a special quarterback, and let's not forget why he was a preseason MVP favorite going into last year. And then, number 4, we're going to dip into the NFC finally.
Oh.
I'm going Jalen Hurts.
Oh.
Yep. And then you know what? Now we're going to knock Jalen Hurts for having a great team around him. And yeah, he's got the best offensive line in the NFL, 3 really good receivers, and an underrated tight end in Dallas Goedert. But it's just, he's the heart and soul of Philadelphia. You look at him in the Super Bowl last year, their offensive line couldn't get anything going on the ground for Miles Sanders. A.J. Brown, he had that nice touchdown, over Trent McDuffie on the long pass. But some of those passes he was making on 3rd down last year, over Trent McDuffie's hands, over Justin Reed's fingertips to Dallas Goedert, it was just special. And Jalen feels like he's kind of the reason why Philadelphia is getting this thing on the right track. Yeah, they got a great team around him, But how many times did his teammates say after games last year, if we don't have Jalen Hurts, we don't win that football game? And it's just, to me, it's a testament to Jalen's character, his growth. When he was at Alabama, when he was going to transfer out, Coach Saban told him, you need to work on your passing. And he went to Oklahoma to continue to work on that, and he's gotten better last year. And he's changing the league. So, and I think he's only going to get better. And he was a shoulder injury away last year from maybe being MVP too. Would I like for him to throw for 4,000 yards in a year? Finally, yes. And maybe this is that year now that he finally got paid. But Jalen needs his flowers. And then number 5, like I said, Aaron Rodgers, just, the man of the hour. Yeah, he had a down year last year, but he had a bunch of receivers he wasn't comfortable with. I think he's going to be comfortable with these Jets receivers real quick this year, and no doubting his arm talent. I mean, some of these throws on Hard Knocks are just unbelievable. Let's not forget, he is a 4-time MVP. And he probably would have played in a lot more Super Bowls had he not had an incompetent head coach and a defense that could barely get in the top 20. That man is special, and I think he's got a good chance to change the New York organization for the better the next 2 to maybe 3 years.
I do agree. And Jalen Hurts, even though he plays for a terrible organization that's just, their fan base eats horse shit.
They throw snowballs at Santa Claus.
Throws snowballs at Santa Claus. He is a hard guy not to root for because he's improved every year. He's coachable. He's a smart player. He handles adversity with, you go back to his college career, getting benched in the national title game. What was Jalen Hurts doing? He was celebrating happy as ever for Tua when he threw that bomb. He was on the sideline talking about, this isn't about me. Yeah, I wish I would have played better, but coach has to do what's best for the team, and I'm happy for Tua. He's earned it.
And then even, the year before, where Deshaun Watson goes down, gets a touchdown with about 2 minutes left, Jalen doesn't flinch. He leads Alabama down the field, and then he rushes for what he thought was the game-winning touchdown, and that Alabama defense let him down. And then Clemson scores with a second left to Renfro. Deshaun gets his national title, and Jalen's seeing the confetti fall on him. And even what Jalen did in 2018 against Georgia in the SEC title game. You're down 28-14. It's essentially a road game against the Dogs. They have revenge on their mind.
You're getting barked at.
And you're getting barked
by 60-year-old men.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't that a concept?
And
there's part of me that does kind of wish I was a Georgia fan just so I could do that to people.
Just so you could bark at people? God, wouldn't that be just the best? Go Dogs! And he came in and he scored, 21 points in the fourth quarter, or at least the second half, in Alabama. They go 13-0 in the regular season.
Yep. And with that, that's our top 5 quarterbacks.